Hello everyone, batching into today's first video, we're going to have a look at the ECMWF 30-day model for today's first video. So looking at temperature and precipitation anomalies for the UK and for the rest of Europe for the next 4 weeks. It takes us into the second half of June, and we'll see what the ECMWF 30-day model has got to say about where the next 4 weeks very shortly for the UK and the rest of Europe as well. Coming up later on this afternoon, we'll have your regular week's 10-day video update, and that will include all of the usual features that will be with you this afternoon. Right then, so we're going to begin with our temperature anomalies for week 1. Now, we can't show you 500 millibar heights or mean sea level pressure with this, but you can get a rough idea of what model is forecasting from its temperature and precipitation anomalies. So this is the week 1 temperature anomaly, taking us from the 18th to 24th of May. It's week 21 for the year, but it's week 1 for our forecast period. A proper east-west split with a temperature anomaly across Europe this week. So the western part of Europe is significantly above average. It's a warmer than average week coming up for Ireland, UK, France, Western Germany, the Low Countries down in towards France, Spain and Portugal. Above average temperature anomalies there all the way through the central bowl of the Med towards Italy as well. But going further eastwards of that, so kind of like from Poland eastwards really, and up to Scandinavia, overall it's colder than average, below average temperature anomalies. Then some far eastern parts of Europe and into western Russia, actually around 6 to 10 degrees below average, so really quite a cold week coming up for the far eastern part of Europe. But warmer across many western southern parts of Europe, down into the Med. Generally it's above average, particularly so for more western areas from Italy back to Spain and Portugal. On the eastern side of the Med, it's not quite as warm through there, but it's still a little bit above average for Greece and for Turkey. The Balkans looking quite chilly over to Black Sea, and then as I say, it gets quite a lot colder as we go up into northern and northeastern parts of Europe, with temperature anomalies around 3 to 10 degrees below average. Precipitation anomalies for week 1 look like this. Overall, rather drier than average in most parts of Europe. It is a bit wetter than average through Italy, Corsica, Sardinia, those sort of areas. And again, the Balkans to the Black Sea looking a little bit wetter than average there. Maybe a bit on the showery side for parts of Greece as well. That aside, though, most parts of Europe are looking pretty dry. There is a swathe of more unsettled conditions from like Scotland through Denmark in towards the very far north of Germany and Poland and to south of the Baltic Sea. But most of Scandinavia is actually coming out drier than average. And then we've got many southwestern parts of Europe also looking pretty dry as well. That does include Ireland and the UK. So for the UK and Ireland, we've got a warm and dry week coming up with temperatures above average, precipitation below average, and these warm dry conditions cover much of France, for example, Belgium, Holland, much of Germany down into Spain and Portugal as well. So the driest, warmest weather is definitely on the western side of Europe this week. Week 2 temperature anomalies look very similar, actually, still an east-west split really. So eastern parts of Europe from Italy eastwards, and particularly around the Balkans through to Black Sea, and those sort of areas coming out below average. Temperature anomalies again around 3 to 6 degrees colder than average. Some parts of Scandinavia looking quite chilly as well again this week, but the warmest weather is on the western side of Europe, so through the central bowl of the Med back to Spain and Portugal up to France. We see temperature anomalies of 3 to 6 degrees there. And more widely across Western Europe, including the UK, we have temperature anomalies of around 1 to 3 degrees warmer than average. So it's a warm scene across western parts of Europe. It's a cool scene across eastern parts of Europe once again from the 25th to the 31st of May. Precipitation anomalies, again we see that this southeastern corner is a little bit more unsettled, so through Ukraine down to the Black Sea, also potentially affecting parts of Greece as well. We have the precipitation anomaly a little bit above average, a little bit wetter than average, but elsewhere across Europe it is a drier than average week being predicted, with below average precipitation anomalies for this last week of May, particularly so again for like England and Wales and much of the Low Countries, many parts of Germany, France, all those sort of areas tending to be quite significantly drier than average. So it does look as though high pressure will be more or less in control, particularly across western parts of Europe. Probably some lower pressure in this southeastern corner. Moving through to week 3. Temperature anomaly taking us from the 1st to the 7th of June. We look like this. Scandinavia, bit cooler than average up there, slightly below average temperature anomalies across Norway, up to northern parts of Sweden, also the north of Scotland, that's going a little bit cooler than average. Generally, we see the warm and average temperature anomalies shrinking quite a bit, although they are still there for southern England, many parts of France, western Germany, parts of Belgium and Holland, and then coming down in towards central part of the Med and back to Spain and Portugal. So it hints at still being a bit on the warmer than average side, but it's not as warm for this week, for week 3, as it is in weeks 1 and 2. Many other areas starting to lose the signal. So really from Germany, sort of eastern parts of Germany, eastwards anyway, is overall average or no signal. That could be average. It's more likely, as it's week 3, to be no signal. Overall, probably looks like a rather cooler week, I have to say, as we're moving into the first week of June. Just generally looks like things are cooling down a little bit across many parts of Europe. Precipitation anomalies for week 3 from the 1st to the 7th of June. A bit wetter than average for Spain and Portugal, quite unusual for the early part of the summer down there. And also across Scandinavia, hints at being slightly wetter than average as well. Otherwise, again, there's quite a lot of no signal going on, quite a lot of weak signals. But it does look as though it's probably on the drier side, really, through the UK and for Ireland. And again, from like Germany and Poland down into this southeastern corner, looks like it's rather on the drier than average side, more than anything. So still quite a lot of anticyclonic influences, you would have thought. But maybe this first week of June could just be a little bit cooler and a little bit more unsettled overall. However, it's not long before the above average temperature anomalies come back widely. So this is week 4, ending this week's ECM 30-day look at it. Takes us from the 8th to the 14th of June, so not quite into the second half of June, actually, with this one. But anyway, it's significantly warmer than average week coming up. Again, most parts of Ireland and the UK above average temperatures by around 1 to 3 degrees. And we see this from France over towards southern parts of Poland, and then going down into the southeastern corner. Widely, temperature anomalies are above average by 1 to 3 degrees. Spain and Portugal ever so slightly on the cooler side, and parts of Scandinavia also on the cooler side up there. Some northeastern parts of Europe have no particular signal, but generally that does look like a pretty warm week coming up. Precipitation anomalies finally for week 4 from the 8th to 14th of June, wetter than average for Spain and Portugal, a little bit drier than average through the UK up towards Scandinavia, so still hinting at quite a bit of high pressure patterns for northwestern parts of Europe. Otherwise, again, there's a lot of white there to be seen, lots of no signal going on, but generally I think we can say it is still looking reasonably dry for northwestern parts of Europe, even as we get in towards like the middle of June. So it's quite an anticyclonic signal, I think, this week from the ECM for many northern and western parts of Europe. Now that doesn't mean it's going to be continuously dry. Of course, there will be periods of rain, but generally I think the ECM is favouring higher pressure through the latter stages of May and on into June as well, and quite warm temperatures for much of northern and western Europe as well, particularly western parts of Europe looking quite warm weekend. Maybe a little bit cooler and more unsettled, particularly through weeks 1 and 2 across eastern, southeastern parts of Europe. Actually, the far northeast of Europe does look quite cold through the first couple of weeks, and then a bit of a recovery in temperature starting to take place there. Remember, it's all just for fun. Any forecast beyond 5 to 7 days is fraught with danger, but that's how it's looking today. It's a snapshot. Could all look very different next week. So we'll have a look again at the ECM 30-day model next week. Right, that's it for video number 1 for today. We'll be back later on with your week 10 video update, including all of regular features, so come back for that then. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.